You were taught to fear this animal from childhood. A blood drinker, a bringer of plague, a creature of pure darkness. Almost none of that is true for almost every bat alive. Only 3 species out of 1,400 ever drink blood. The rest are pollinating your food and devouring your pests. Here on WildPlanetTV, the familiar stops being what it seems, so subscribe. 1 in every 5 mammals on Earth is a bat. They pollinate your tequila and save farmers billions of dollars. This is the bat, and we got it catastrophically wrong. So let us start with what a bat actually is at all, because most people have no idea just how many exist. Scientists have described more than 1,400 species of bats. That makes them the second most diverse group of mammals alive. Only the rodents have ever managed to produce more species than they have. Roughly 1 in every 5 mammal species is a bat. Stop for a second and think about how strange that really is. A full 1/5 of all mammal diversity flies through the night. They live on every continent on Earth except frozen Antarctica, and they achieved something that no other mammal ever has. Bats are the only mammals capable of true, powered, sustained flight. A flying squirrel merely glides, falling gracefully between the trees. A bat flaps, climbs, hovers, and steers just like a bird. Its wing is not a modified arm covered over in feathers. It is a hand with enormously elongated finger bones. A thin, living membrane stretches between each of those fingers. The order's own name, chiroptera, means quite simply the hand wing. You are watching a mammal fly along upon its own fingers. And the range of sizes among them is genuinely extraordinary too. The smallest weighs about 2 grams, less than a small coin. It is among the very tiniest mammals on the entire planet. The largest, flying foxes, span more than 1.5 meters. But their most famous ability is the one we misunderstand most. Everyone has heard the old phrase, blind as a bat. It is completely wrong, because no bat is truly blind at all. Every single species can see, and some see very well indeed. The big fruit bats have large eyes and excellent night vision. They also carry a superb sense of smell for finding fruit. But many of the smaller bats added something far stranger still. They learned to see the whole world using nothing but sound. A hunting bat fires rapid pulses of very high-pitched sound. Those calls bounce off everything and return as faint echoes. Its brain rebuilds those echoes into a picture of the dark. It maps distance, size, texture, direction, and speed at once. It can detect a wire as thin as a single human hair. It can tell a flying moth from a falling leaf almost instantly. And these rapid hunting calls are astonishingly, brutally loud. Some reach the volume of a jet engine standing close by. We simply never hear any of them because the pitch is far too high. So the bat must protect its own ears from that blast. Tiny muscles clamp its middle ear with every single call. It deafens itself for a heartbeat, then listens for the echo. Hundreds of times a second, all while hunting at full speed. And the insects it hunts have been fighting back for ages. Some moths hear the calls coming and dive straight for the ground. Others answer with ultrasonic clicks that jam the bat's sonar. That nightly hunt turns out to be worth an absolute fortune. An insect-eating bat consumes an enormous amount every single night. A single small bat can catch hundreds of insects in an hour. Some of them take close to their own body weight each night. Now multiply that figure by a colony of many, many millions. In Texas, one single cave holds one of Earth's greatest gatherings. Millions of free-tailed bats pour out of it at dusk. The column is so dense it actually appears on weather radar. Together they eat many tons of insects every single night, and they deliberately target the moths whose caterpillars destroy our crops. They hunt the corn earworm, a devastating agricultural pest. They intercept those moths before the eggs are ever laid. It is free pest control delivered quietly from the night sky. Scientists tried to put a real price on this free service. In the United States alone, the estimates ran into billions. Billions of dollars saved in crops and in unused pesticide every single year, and not one invoice is ever sent. Fewer bats means far more insecticide sprayed onto your food. It means far higher costs, and it lands on the farmer. The animal we chase from our attics is guarding our fields. And its second great service is even harder for us to replace. Because bats do not only remove things, they also deliver. Many bats gave up hunting insects entirely for nectar and fruit, and in doing so, they became absolutely essential pollinators. More than 500 plant species depend on visiting bats. Night-blooming flowers open in the dark specifically for their furry visitors. The bats drink the nectar and carry pollen between the blossoms. Among those plants is the agave of the Mexican highlands. The agave is, of course, the very plant that gives us tequila. Wild agave depends on long-nosed bats to reproduce properly. Without them, the plants lose their genetic health over time. Your drink genuinely depends on a widely hated flying mammal. Bats also pollinate durian, banana, mango, and guava. Whole tropical harvests quietly rest upon their night shift. And the big fruit bats do something even bigger than that. They swallow the fruit and scatter the seeds as they fly. A single fruit bat can drop thousands of seeds in one night. They fly far out over cleared and burned open ground. Birds very rarely cross that bare open land, but the bats do. So bats replant the very forests that we have cut down. They are the night gardeners of the whole tropical world. Even their droppings build entire ecosystems inside dark caves. Whole communities of specialized creatures live on nothing else. If your drink just got more interesting, comment the word tequila. Now let us finally deal with the vampire in the room, the image that has shadowed this animal for many centuries. Out of more than 1,400 species, only 3 drink blood. That is around 0.2% of all bats. And all 3 of those species live in the warm Americas. They never once existed in the castles of Eastern Europe. The legend arrived long before any European ever saw one. European folklore came first, and the bat was named after it. We named the animal after the monster, and not the reverse. And the real vampire bat does not suck anything at all. It lands quietly nearby and walks towards a sleeping animal. It can run along the ground, which very few bats can. Heat sensors in its face find where the vessels sit closest. It makes a tiny, shallow cut with razor-sharp front teeth. Then it laps, gently, much like a cat at a bowl. The sleeping animal usually rests right through the entire visit. Its saliva also contains a remarkably powerful anti-clotting compound. Researchers named that compound draculin, with obvious humor. It keeps the small wound from sealing while the bat feeds. It keeps the tiny wound from sealing while the bat feeds. And that one molecule turned out to be medically fascinating. It dissolves dangerous clots with remarkable speed and real precision. A stroke happens when a clot blocks the flow to the brain. The monster of our nightmares may help unblock our arteries. But the truly astonishing thing is not their clever saliva. It is what these particular bats quietly do for one another. A vampire bat lives on an incredibly tight and unforgiving schedule. It must feed almost every single night simply to survive. 2 nights without a meal, and it can starve to death. But hunting does not always succeed, and many return empty. In most of nature, that single failure would simply be fatal. But in a vampire bat roost, something remarkable happens instead. A bat that fed well will share with one that failed. It brings up part of its own meal and passes it over. It gives away the very food that is keeping itself alive. And it does not do this randomly or blindly at all. Bats remember exactly who has helped them in the past. They preferentially feed the very ones who once fed them. They keep a running ledger of favors given and received. Researchers found bonds that persist for years between individuals. They groom one another and they stay together over time. Scientists now genuinely describe these relationships as real friendships. It is one of the clearest cases of reciprocity in all animals. A bat will risk its own survival to help out a friend, even for a bat it is not closely related to at all. The creature we call a blood-sucking monster shares its food. It feeds the hungry, and it remembers who was kind. That is far more than a reflex. It is a relationship. The vampire is, in truth, unusually and quietly generous. If that surprised you, share this with someone who fears bats. Now, we have to be honest about the other great fear. Bats do carry viruses, and some of them are dangerous. They are known reservoirs for rabies and several other diseases. This is a real risk, and it genuinely deserves our respect. Never pick up a bat, especially one lying on the ground. But the true picture is far less frightening than the headlines. Only a tiny fraction of wild bats ever carry rabies. The overwhelming majority will never infect anything else at all. And outbreaks almost always begin with our own behavior. We clear away their forests and push them toward our farms. We capture and sell wild animals in crowded, chaotic markets. Spillover is driven by the contact that we ourselves create. Killing bats does not help, and it often makes things worse. Disturbed colonies scatter, and the risk simply spreads outward.
Meanwhile, their strange biology may hold something we badly need. Bats carry these viruses without ever becoming ill themselves. Their immune systems tolerate what would devastate our own. Flight raises their body temperature like a permanent fever. They evolved to control inflammation instead of wildly overreacting.
They evolved to control inflammation instead of wildly overreacting to it. That control may explain their other, almost impossible talent. One tiny bat, weighing only a few grams, lived past 40. A mouse of that size is already old at 2 or 3. So researchers now study bats to understand human aging itself. And yet these extraordinary animals are quietly disappearing everywhere. A fungal disease has swept through the caves of North America. It attacks bats while they hibernate, waking them again and again. They burn through their fat reserves and never see the spring. Wind turbines kill many thousands more of them every year. Their roosts are sealed, burned, and destroyed as simple pests. Their roosts are sealed, burned, and destroyed as simple pests. And bats recover from such losses painfully, painfully slowly. One single pup from a mammal that can live for decades. One pup from a mammal that can live for decades. Not every culture on Earth inherited our fear of them, however. Its name there sounds almost exactly like the word for fortune. 5 bats together represent the 5 blessings of a good life. 5 bats together represent 5 blessings for a life. The same animal read as a blessing instead of a curse. So what, in the end, is the bat actually for? It is 1 in 5 of all the mammals alive. It is the only mammal that ever truly conquered flight. It sees in sound and hunts our pests by the ton.
It pollinates our crops and replants our ruined forests. It shares its food with hungry friends in the dark, and almost none of them have ever tasted a drop of blood. The next time one flickers past your head at dusk, look up at a pollinator, a pest killer, and a loyal friend. Next time, the dung beetle, the insect that navigates by the galaxy. If this changed how you see the bat, subscribe and stay wild.